Hello, welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is episode 136. The metronome is ticking. How do you utilize your time? Hey guys, it's Heidi. Welcome back to another Flute 360 podcast episode. I am so glad that you have tuned in today, and I appreciate the support. If you have not followed me yet through Instagram or Facebook, go ahead and do that now. And also, please subscribe to the Flute 360 podcast in your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much. So for today's content, we are going to talk about organizational skills and time management. So Series 29 is upon us, and these next 3 episodes are dedicated to you, the listener. I asked back in episode 135, which aired last Saturday, what y'all's pain points are/were. And thank you so much for the DMs, the text messages, and the emails, because I got a great insight into my listeners' world and what you guys are struggling with. I so resonate with these pain points because, man, some of these hurts and worries and whatnot are things that I think about too. So thank you so much for being open and vulnerable. I took all of this feedback from the different messages and I asked myself, what's the core problem here? And I came up with time management and organizational skills, which I'm so glad it actually turned out to be that. Not that I'm glad you suffer with that, but I'm glad that this is a pain point because I can help. I find that I am really, really great at organizational skills. Now, I don't know if it was my upbringing or a little bit of my personality and who I am as a person that contribute, to this strength, but this is something I can really bring to the table and help you move forward towards your professional and personal goals. So in Series 29, which is today, and the next 2 episodes, I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm going to showcase 3 unique personal stories that hopefully you can resonate with and bring out the one big takeaway or the one big gold nugget that you can apply in your life today. Today's story brings you all the way back to 2005 in the beautiful sunny city of Tucson, Arizona. Most of you know that I'm married to an audio/video engineer editor, and his name is Eric J. Begay. Well, at one point in our lives, we dated and we met each other in college at the University of Arizona back in 2005. So when I met Eric back in 2005, I was getting to know him as a friend, and we were in these different music classes together. Well, there was a lot of positive things that drew me to Eric, but the one thing that I noticed that wasn't really a strength of his in the beginning was organization. So when we became friends and study buddies with our other friends like James and Christine and Orel, I decided, I could help my friend Eric out. He was pretty much scattered and all over the place. His papers were flying out of his backpack, flying out of the folders and the binders. And I said, is this something that's working for you? Is it serving you? And he's like, actually, I'm so glad you mentioned this. It's not serving me well. I'm actually quite a mess, and I really do need help. And he was really sweet and vulnerable to share with me that, the semester prior, when I didn't know him, the semester prior, he had actually failed out of college. And by a miracle, a huge blessing, the dean actually let him back in, but under a lot of different contingencies. He said, this has to happen, that has to happen, your grades have to be pulled up, etc. So, fast forward, he meets me, and I was a blessing in disguise because here, one of my strengths has been organizational skills for quite some time. So I said, okay, what's your goal? And he said, my goal is to finish college, strong with a GPA that I'm really proud of. And I want to graduate because I will be the first college graduate of my family. And I want to make them proud. And I want to be proud of my accomplishments. I said, great. Okay, these are great goals to have. So we need to take a step back and figure out a system. So if you don't have a strategy in place, you're going to feel a little chaotic. I'm not going to lie. So what does it mean to build a strategy or to implement some kind of system? Well, I will say that it will be unique for everybody. Everybody is going to learn differently. Everybody works differently in their own right and in their own way. So I want you to find what works best for you. If it's working, keep at it. That's great. But if you're finding some holes within your strategy of how to get from point A to point B, then perhaps tweak the system and find something that will work. You might have to go through some trial and error to find the right match for you. Some very specific tactics that I would like to offer is you might want to try, a filing cabinet system or some kind of folder system, notebooks, binders with tabs, planners. I love using my iCalendar. So take a step back, ask yourself, is there something where I can strategize and be more efficient with my time and my other resources? So going back to Eric's story, with that notebook and the papers flaring about and all over the place, basically for him, we had to create a system of organizational methods. We went to Office Max or Office Depot and bought the folders and the binders, put the pages right where they belonged in a systematic way, right? And implementing these small little steps really helped him to achieve his short-term and long-term goals. He was able to think clearer, to learn better, to retain the information at school, and ultimately not only get great grades semester to semester, but then ultimately graduate with his Bachelor's of Arts degree in music business. So hopefully that helps you today to encourage you to take a step back, ask yourself, what is my system? How am I going to get from point A to point B? What are my goals? What are the steps? What are the action steps that I'm going to take to get there? And what method is going to be my foundation in order to serve me the best way to reach those goals? And for me, when I hear all of this, I think of a house. It's kind of crazy. It's like you can't really hang those curtains in a house that has no framework. Right? You have to lay the foundation, build the framework, fill in the window frame with glass, and then put up the rod, and then put up the curtains, right? So the same concept applies to your goals. And I will say, fast forward, a good 10 years later, Eric took an Avid Pro Tools certification program in Carrollton, Texas. And he was one of, 40 people who registered for this certification program and the only one to graduate. And now as his wife, I'm so proud watching him and his system and how he approached that certification program because it was completely different than when he was a student at the collegiate level. He took that system that worked well for him back in Tucson, Arizona, and implemented it at the Avid Pro Tools certification program in Texas. He got the binders, he got the tabs, he got his filing system that worked well for him. He implemented it, and then he was the only one to graduate from his class. And the great thing in all that is It was literally ingrained in him. I did not even mention once, like, you should go get a binder. You should get and I'm doing air quotes on should. But I didn't even nudge him in that direction. He just took it upon himself because he knew it worked. And he wanted to duplicate the process so he could be successful in the AVID certification program. How can you apply this in your life? Are you working towards graduate school auditions, college auditions? Are you working towards your state competitions or an international competition? Are you working on a better strategy for your business? I would love to know what your short-term and long-term goals are and what systems you are going to implement to help you reach those goals. If you need some individual help, I am always here. I am booking 15-minute consultation calls where we can talk one-on-one about the strategies that we can implement for you so you can reach your professional goals in no time. If you would like to schedule a free 15-minute consultation, the link is provided in the show notes. I'd love to talk with you. Lastly, I have designed a free PDF as a thank you for listening to today's content. It's titled, Establish Your Priorities for Optimal Organizational and Time Management Skills. Simply sign up through the Flute 360 newsletter, and I will email you the free document. I hope today's content has helped you in some way, and until next time. Do you find yourself wanting a space for your unique voice, ideas, and offerings to be heard? Unfortunately, in our current times, a lot of in-person opportunities have been lost. Because of this, I am encouraging you to consider digital opportunities for yourself and your business. I am offering the Podcasting Musician. Create your music podcast on a low budget to amplify your voice and offerings. In these classes, we will build your podcast from the ground up. Podcasting has been growing steadily for the last 15 years, and it continues to soar even during a pandemic. Remote classes begin on December 15th, 2020. Register today at heidikbigay.com/thepodcastingmusician. See you soon. Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. Please subscribe through your favorite podcast app such as Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, among others. Also, you definitely want to check out the Flute 360's newsletter. You can sign up for the weekly newsletter through my website at heidikbigay.com. Thank you for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. Let's talk about flute.